Katie Bruckmann.
Tell me how you met Emmett.
So I have spina bifida. I use a wheelchair. We met a long time ago online in a Facebook group.
The Facebook group that you met in was called Pretty Sick.
Yes. Yes.
Can you tell me about the time that you spent in person together?
We would get coffee if he was in town in DC. I watched his dog for him, Roxy. I also visited him in hospice.
Can you tell me a little bit about what it looked like in hospice when you visited?
It was really beautiful and happy and joyful. There was lots of lights and rainbows, just uplifting messages and a big group of people. We just shared a lot of love and laughs, and it was really special. It was a special time to have that together. It was beautiful. I think in the disability community in general, he was really a leader and he was a huge advocate, and lots of people looked up to him. Even people that had never met him in person knew who he was, were inspired by him. He always was speaking out against different injustices, had a really charismatic way about him. People resonated with that. He just was really good at bringing people together. Even when he was dying, and he was making others feel better and encouraging others. Right before he passed away, I had lost another friend. I just found out about it. And he was comforting me in our last interaction about this friend passing away when he should have been focusing on his own worries and his own impending death, but instead he was worried about me. And that just shows really who he was and the kind of person he was, that he cared more about others than he cared about himself. And he just could make anyone feel better no matter what.
For every person who knew him, he was their best friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's true. He was always giving to others, but I think he genuinely appreciated his friendships. Wasn't just someone that made you feel better. I felt like I could also offer things in the friendship, if that makes sense. Even things like watching his dog. He was so appreciative of that. And I was so happy to do that. I do it a billion more times. It was something easy that I could do. I didn't mind doing it. Or just listening to him about different stories he had to say, or just frustrations that were going on in his life, especially at the time, the Benadryl shortage. He would post about that, and I wouldn't have known about it if it weren't for him. He was always bringing awareness and helping others to understand the different issues going on in the world. And he was always also ready to listen to what you had going on. He would tell me stories about his life to help me realize, I think, that people are multifaceted. Things are rarely as simple on the situation as you might think they are. Everyone has sort of their own story, and we have to be cognizant of that.
He saw people. He accepted all of them.
Yes. Yes. He also understood that people were doing their best most of the time. He was kind, but he was going through things that people wouldn't have imagined. And he also knew that he should be kind to others because they were going through things he had no idea about.
He helped people see that you might mess up sometimes.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you're bad.
Right, exactly. That's really important, because a lot of times we just get fixated on what we're doing wrong and we forget that we can still do things right. It's okay to give yourself grace, and to also very important to give others grace. And the reassurance that it's okay to screw up, to realize when you do and to apologize and to do better next time. He was kind enough to be like, yeah, you are better than this. You can do better than this. I think you deserve to feel better and to show that you can do better, to show yourself some compassion and love. it was not just about how people treated him. It was about how they treated themselves and how they could go on and affect change in the world. I think that's still kind of a ripple effect that he's caused.
He offered people the compassion that they needed to be able to be better.
Mm-hmm.
In showing people that someone would offer them that compassion, people learned that they could do that for themselves.
Yes.
You know? And I think Emmett made people like believe that they could be more than they knew.
Yes. Right. That's
like,
right.
He could see it in you.
Yes. Yes. And he was usually right about things. I think because he saw that a lot in his own life, because he saw so much tragedy, but he also saw a lot of amazing things. He truly believed in it. He just wanted to get that message out while he was still here.
He believed in making the most of your time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And instead of wasting your time and being like, why me? Why am I so terrible? Why did I do this? Why didn't I do that? You could be thinking to yourself, well, screwed up, not great at that, but I am good at something else and I can do better next time. How can I make this better for the future so other people don't have to feel the same way that I'm feeling right now? He was kind of everyone's cheerleader in that way, wanted us to all realize that we deserved better and we could get it if we just kind of were a little bit brave and did the hard thing.
What kind of lessons can we learn about disability and chronic illness from Emmett?
A lot of what I've learned about the chronic illness and disability movements, it's from people like Emmett, who are our leaders and who sort of lived out loud in a lot of ways. They stood up for what they believed in and how it's actually affecting real people. And that is so powerful because it's not always beautiful. It's not what you see on the news, because on television and movies, a lot of the time, it's what sort of fits a certain narrative. And in a historical context, kind of, the disabled community has not been seen as powerful. People like Emmett show that we are. That was one of the reasons why so many people loved him and wanted to be with him and community with him, because he was powerful. He was so multifaceted. He could just teach you so much in so little time. Even though there were moments when I was like, I should be doing so much more, it wasn't that I was shamed by him at all. It was, I can do it now because he taught me how. It was really impactful for me. And I think it's definitely impacted how I've carried on my advocacy since he's gone. I think now there's so many of us telling his story that he won't be forgotten.
It was a cross disability network.
Mm-hmm.
Cared for Emmett when he was in hospice. What do you think we can learn from that?
We can take care of each other. We can learn from each other, and we all have something to offer. My husband is able-bodied, and we got married in September, so about 8-ish months ago. And we are thinking about having children someday, which is something that I also talked to Emmett about. He was just always sort of very encouraging of that, because he showed that there are multiple different ways of taking care of other people, no matter what your disability is. And I think that really showed up in his hospice, because so many people really did show up for him in many, many different ways, whether it was in person, online, just getting the word out about different things he might need, or different things that he was giving away that other people could have used, medical equipment, for example, being there. It really was a labor of love in many different ways. It was beautiful. I've thought about him and other people who I know who have been disabled parents, and it's really been encouraging to me. Even though he wasn't given that opportunity, he was a caretaker of many in different ways. And that's special.
We're Miss Wheelchair D.C. How and that's like legacy inform your leadership?
He would have gotten a kick out of this. The fact that I was in a pageant, a couple pageants, he would have thought that was just the best freaking thing. And been so excited about the hair and the makeup and the dresses. I mean, the advocacy, yes, but really getting dressed up, most important. He would have been really proud, I think. I thought of him a lot when I was doing this pageant work, this competition, because it was intergenerational for me. There were women who were older than me competing. And then also I competed ultimately because I had a student at the time who was in the 3rd grade and she had spina bifida too. I don't think she or her parents had actually really known disabled adults. They had known maybe other kids, which is great, but it's not, I'm sure as a parent, it's harder because you know your kid is great and they're going to grow up and be okay, but it's reassuring to see an adult that has your child's disability. I hope I carried his legacy on in the way that I interacted with her. And she was excited about like hearing people speak at the pageant, but really, I mean, she was like 7. So she was just like, oh, look at those princesses. I was like, yeah, look at them. Because we don't see ourselves in movies and TV and magazines or online and weddings and things like that. You do kind of wonder, like, how am I going to look? What am I going to wear?
Folks in wheelchairs don't often like see themselves in Disney princesses.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real reason for folks in wheelchairs to really enjoy kind of seeing themselves as princesses.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's what like the pageant competition was really not only about, but it really did add something because not only are we not seen in media most of the time, especially all dressed up, but we're not seen as beautiful. We're not sure that it can really happen. What was so magical about the competition was that it does happen, and it did. It showed what was possible and how we could also like look beautiful and feel really good, affect change at the same time. And it wasn't a one thing or another. You can be smart or you can be pretty. No, you can be both. In a world where disabled people are told generally that we're neither of those things, it was even better and more magical. Emmett would have loved that. He would have just obviously loved all the sparkle. For many people, it's sort of a dream of what they can be. And I did feel that way too, because you can go out and do big things and look beautiful. And that sort of always encompassed that too, I think, that same feeling, that same message. For him, he was a part of the queer community, so he was not always seeing himself in the media dressed necessarily like more feminine or in like sparkly dresses or things like that. I think why pageants like Miss Wheelchair D.C. or Miss Wheelchair America are so important is to show people that you can do anything and look good doing it, even if you're in a wheelchair. And I wish Emmett had gotten a chance to maybe even participate in something like that. He would have loved it. He would have been great at it, but he didn't need a competition like that to really shine.
So much of Emmett was like magic.
Yes. And he even had like a banner in his hospice room that said, "You are magic."
Yeah. I think he really believed in like the importance of color, dressing up as kind of a way of creating what can be.
Yes. Even if society is telling you, oh, disabled people aren't cute, they're not pretty, they're quiet in the corner, no one really looks at you, so don't even try. Well, why? Why aren't they looking at me? Why don't I have something to offer. He was always trying to get us to see what we had to offer, even if we didn't see it at the time. And that was really special.
So often, like, disabled people's bodies are acted on. When you dress up, like dye your hair, it's a form of action on your own body.
Yes. So important that we can have that control and sort of decide what we want and how we want to look and feel.
How we want to be seen.
Yes. Yes. Of course. Yeah. I always remember Emmet whenever I see someone that has like that blue-green hair.
You believe everyone deserves to wear beautiful things.
Yes. Yes.